it's Jackie, and this is the Natural Healing Wheel. Today, David Jones is here, and we are going to talk about many different things. You're a soul doula, which is something I've never really heard of, but I love it. You're spending time with people as they're transitioning over to the other side instead of coming in. Is that
that's correct? Yeah.
What I'm understanding? Yeah. So that's really cool. We're going to talk about that. And then you have all kinds of things. You're a coach in emotional technique, the EFT, CBT, breathwork, Reiki, angelic Reiki. That's a good thing. And the inner child work, which is, I think, what we're all working on, right?
Oh, I love it. It's a huge passion of mine. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So where are we going to start? Addiction took you over to the other side. So that was the contrast. And when did all that start?
Okay, so growing up, I describe myself as a professional addict growing up. I tried anything and everything, and I was really good at it. I could take things to the extreme, like that next level, and I was quite proud of it. When it came to drink, I could just drink all night. When it came to drugs, kept going, like nothing really stopped me. And yeah, I just had this very addictive personality. My addictions did phase off throughout the years. I would meet different partners and that they would help me to kind of quit things. But then I would swap one addiction for another. So whereas I did quit cocaine, that was a big love of mine. But then I switched that for the football culture. So I kind of got into this lad culture, going to the football and living for match days. And then that slowly started to lose its grip on me because I saw the emptiness in that. And then I got into the gym. So the gym was a healthier culture as such, but then I managed to abuse that as well, going 5-6 times a week, eating 5-6 meals a day to get as big as I could. So I went from drugs, alcohol, relationships, work, media, football, to the gym. And I would take everything to the extreme. It's a very addictive personality, believing that I could find what I was looking for in those things. And I could say to have a real watershed moment, the moment that really changed me was the death of my best friend in front of me. And this is a young man who was with me all throughout my life growing up. We met at secondary school, and then all through my teens, my 20s, we'd go out, and he was just the epitome of positivity. He was loving, he was caring. He actually showed me what true love was, because I was in the habit of always trying to fix people and control and manipulate, because that's what I grew up thinking love was, conditional. But this young man didn't have any of that. And when I was homeless, because my drugs in my early 20s got me kicked out of my home, lost my house. And that was, I had my life in a bin bag, literally. And this young man, Dean, my best friend, he'd pick me up, he'd drive me around. But he never tried to fix me. He just accepted me how I was. But I don't think I'd have been like that.
Totally right there.
I would try to fix him and he'd be like, oh, you need to do this. But he just accepted me as I was. And yeah, Dean had a condition called cystic fibrosis, and he had a lung transplant that went successfully. And I was the best man at his wedding. It was a beautiful, picturesque day. But the following winter, his body contracted a pneumonia and bronchitis. And because he had foreign lungs in him, he had immunity blockers, because that's how it works. Because he had an immune system, his body would reject the lungs. So essentially, he didn't have an immune system, and his body just couldn't cope. And the Friday night, his wife phoned me the night before, and she said, will you come to the hospital? They say Dean's not going to make it for the weekend. Well, I was still a bit addicted to the gym then. So on Saturday morning, I went up the gym, because that's what I knew. And then I thought I'd better see Dean, because believe it or not, I didn't think he was going to die, because we never spoke about it. He was such a positive person, and it just didn't even cross my mind. And then that's naive to say, but that's genuinely how I felt. So anyway, I went to the gym, and I went to the hospital after, and I got there at 1:15, and I walked in the room, and Dean was there on the ventilators, his family are around, his wife. And that's when it dawned on me, look, actually, this is pretty serious. This is happening. And then at 16 minutes past 2, so just over an hour later, Dean then left his body, and that was it. And we all left the room as the nurses prepared the body, as they do. And I just said to his parents, I said, can I go back in and just give my peace and my thanks and my gratitude to Dean for all he showed me, never fixed me, and just this pure love. So I went in the room, and I'm there with his body. in front of me, and I'm looking at it, and I don't know, something happened in that moment. I was like, there is no way what you've shown me and done for me in this lifetime that is confined, that body. And something in my ego structure, whatever you call it, then kind of short-circuited, and it's like the veil was lifted, and I started to feel the most overwhelming sense of unconditional love and bliss and joy that I'd felt for the first time in my life, really. And this was naturally happening to me, and it's like light and love was coming from within me, but it was also surrounding me. And needless to say, I left the room that day a different person, because how I thought reality was, I touched what I found truth for the first time in my life, without any substances, without any external ego trips. Like, this was, I touched something within me, and that was his final parting gift, if you like. And from that day forward, it wasn't an instant moment of I'm enlightened, but it started the unraveling of things, and I started to look at life differently and question, who am I? Why am I? Why did I have such an addictive personality? And it all snowballed from there, and here we are today.
Did you find any answers to those questions?
Oh yeah, I found them all. I believe I did. Yeah. I'm still an ongoing process, but that feeling I felt next to Dean that day, it's becoming more and more of a daily state now. The deeper I go into my traumas, as you were, my darkness. And it's not that I go looking for things to heal now, because that's a trap as well. I've learned that, the healing trap. I turned that into an addiction and think, I've got to fix myself, I've got to become enlightened. That's the ego trying to manipulate things. So I've walked that pitfall as well. But now if there's a pattern or something that's cropping up, a continuous pattern, I sit with it, I heal it, and I accept it and ask, what is this saying me? What's it telling me? And the reason I did have such an addictive nature is because when I was 3 years old, my mother left me. When I was one day, she just left my father, and I just left the house, and that was it. I didn't realise the impact that the first 7 years has on your life, forming your adult self, if you like. And this is why we spoke about inner child at the very beginning of this, that essentially we are little children running around in adult bodies. And it's the inner child that's running the show, because it's the inner child that first learns all the emotions, learns the beliefs, learns the storylines. And I will say this as well, that the trauma didn't happen from my mother leaving. The trauma happened from the story that young boy told himself about his mother leaving, and that's the subtle difference. And the story that young boy told himself was that he wasn't worthy of love, he wasn't good enough, he didn't deserve to be here, and what's the point? This was when I was at school as well, early in the 90s, and all my peers still had parents. So then again, that compounded my inner narrative that, well, everyone else has a mom and dad. Why don't I have a mom and dad? I was also raised religious as a Christian. And then this is not a knock against any sort of religion, but I learned about an Old Testament God that was very wrathful and punishful, and that I was born in sin. And so all these things I was learning, it was just compounding my subconscious storyline, which then became my narrative for my adult life. And when you have feelings of shame, guilt, not good enough, not lovable, lack of self-worth, this then generates an emotion within you every day, shame and guilt, which don't feel too good. So then the path of an addict is to reach for little dopamine hits that work for a little bit, sure, but then you come crashing down back to your subconscious narrative. So yeah, I did find all those answers. It's taken a few years and it wasn't pretty, but here I am now, and I do feel equipped to help other people, to help them stop telling themselves erroneous subconscious storylines, if you like.
So that has been a real deep understanding for me as of late as well, is the stories, right? It's the stories that, I mean, we know that, but there's so many depths of that, of understanding, right? And we're continuously telling the story, and it's such, until you can see that you can't tell the story, you get that you can't tell the story, but until you actually really get that, it's yeah, we're just shaming and blaming, and we're all not enough. I think we all have what you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a societal thing, right?
I'd say it's a core wound of humanity.
Yeah. So we're all not enough. The whole thing is learning to love ourselves, I believe, is why we're here, right? And I don't know that we know how, right? We're like, okay, so we'll go to the spa, or I'm going to take some day, I'm going to vacation, read a book, and it's not that. I mean, that's great, but it's not that. So how did you how did you understand all of that? What is the process that came to you that you were able to, the veil lifted, so you were able to see different things as a gift from the divine with Dean? But what happens? Like, how did you get there?
If I could say one thing, it would be to work with emotions, and it's a very rich part of this human experience. But all my life growing up, I did everything I could to oppress and subdue my emotions and ignore them because I wasn't comfortable with them, the feelings I was feeling. But if you can just sit with an emotion that you find menacing and controlling, and we can choose any addiction to ignore them through a screen or whatever. When you sit with it and burn through it, its totality until there's nothing left, you can kind of see the emptiness of it. And that actually, the truth is that you are not that emotion. On the other side, you have the capacity to be anything. I have the capacity to be not worthy, and I have the capacity to be worthy. Well, if I feel worthy, that feels good. So I'm going to use my emotions as kind of scale to say, well, do you know what? I can be either. I'm going to choose to be worthy because that feels good. Obviously, we're still stuck in duality then. But I am the awareness behind those two emotions, and I don't like to go into like non-duality too much because I think that can be very unhealthy. I've met a few people that live their lives like that. We're here to experience contrast, aren't we, in the richness of the beauty of the human experience. So it's just working with emotions, having the bravery to sit with the shame and the guilt, to sit with those burning feelings and just examine them objectively. And how do they feel? Where are they in my body? And eventually they will pass, and you can see the emptiness that every feeling, this too shall pass in this transient existence. So I'm going to choose to be worthy because, you know what, I'm part of this universe. How could I not be worthy? I'm part of this miracle we're all part of, yourself included. So clearly there's a purpose to my existence. And I always use this one with my clients. When a child is born, what do we do for it? We love it, we clothe it, we feed it. And I always say to my clients, why do we do that? And some don't know. Well, we just do it, don't we? Because they're worthy. Just simply because they exist. The baby's not going to do anything for me. It's not going to pay me. It's not going to give me anything. It's just worthy of love. And a child just knows that on a deep level. And that's what we are. We're still those children, aren't we, that are worthy just through existence. No. So that's what I would say. But working with emotions is the number one thing, to just sit through them until they pass. And then
that's the one thing that we don't do, right? And we've got all these emotions stuffed down there, right? And so I think that it's just that understanding and that knowledge of when we're feeling a certain feeling. What I've understood is that all of a sudden there's a story running around it, and of course it's everybody else, right? That because we can see everybody else, we can't see ourselves, and then we don't. To be able to sit down at that moment and just close your eyes and breathe into your heart is such. It's so easy, and it's so difficult at the same time to remember to do that because we're so in these deep entrenched patterns, right? I'm working on it, and like it's a practice for sure, right?
Yeah, it's ongoing.
But you can feel it start to move through you, right? And and that whole wounded child, right? It's crazy. We got these stories running around our head. We don't even know that we're telling ourselves, and subtracted more crap to ourselves.
That's it.
And we think it's everybody else, but it's actually us having the conversation in our head that we're unaware of.
That's the way it works, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you go like into like a hospice and sit with people. Like what are you doing with that?
Currently, I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm a qualified soul doula, but I will just go where the flow calls me. Sometimes synchronicities will just happen, and I'll meet people, and be that just a person can be actively dying for years and years. So it doesn't actually mean I have sat next to people on their deathbed, mainly family members. But sometimes someone that knows that the end is in sight when the body's deteriorating. So we can just go around our house, have a cup of tea, write end of life plans, make sure their wills are done, because we have birth plans. So why don't we have end of life plans? So how would you like to die? If I can make this happen and empower your death as much as I can, where would you like to die? And the majority of people want to die at home, But the way it currently set up is everyone dies in hospital, about 90% of people. And this isn't what people want, under bright lights and noises going on around them. And yeah, the majority of people just want to be at home. Obviously, hospices make it a lot more comfortable setting. But just what do you want in your last moments? Would you like music playing? Do you want nature there? Is there anyone you don't want there? And so by writing these end of life plans, we can just enable people to have the most peaceful and powerful passing as possible, which I think is a hugely poignant moment of life, that we kind of work to death, that how we live our life, they say how we live in life is how we will die. So it's such a huge moment, that passing, that I want to facilitate as much love and power to that person as I can.
It's something I think some people think about it, but I don't think anybody, our society doesn't like to talk about it. So I think there's many cultures that do look after that stuff, right? So I think that with my sister, just when you're talking about that, my sister came down with some throat cancer and was given a very short time to live. And I know I said to her, right, she's boys, right? And I was like, write them some letters. And she was like, oh, that, like, because you're not thinking that, you're sick, right? You're traumatized with whatever's happening in your body. And now you're going to do this, this, and this. And like, I just feel that was such a gift for her to be able to write those to her boys. Because, now one of them is going to get married, right? And there's a letter there for that, right?
Right. Yeah. That's powerful.
So you made me cry earlier. Now I got tears.
Okay, I can appreciate that's a very tender subject.
Yeah, it's good, right? I think that whole, what do you think about this whole, we're living in a simulation? This is really quite a new revelation. I think that trying to understand, I'm hearing it from like Greg Braden and like people who are, they know, like they're not, you know what I mean? They're deeply into this work. And anyway, it's like we're like these avatars, and we're
okay
outside the simulation, and we're throwing our consciousness into our avatars to have the contrast, right? So we have to have the contrast, the polarity as you're talking. Otherwise, everything's a rainy day or a sunny day. We don't know the difference, right? So we need that contrast. Yeah. I've created a lot of it. Lots of contrast for lots of wake up, right? But you don't know about any of that? You don't have it?
I do. I just wasn't expecting that question. That was all. Okay. I can talk about that. Yeah. I would say in my years and years of study, I've been on this path for 8 years now. Yeah. And I'm going to say to some degree that I can see that this maybe is some sort of simulation. I love the film The Matrix. If you've ever seen that, I think that kind of gives a lot of, and there are other films being made over the years that kind of hint towards that. One thing I will say, that this is reality right now, and I know it can be called Maya, the illusion, but here we are right now. So to start saying it's a simulation, yeah, and to say, oh, it's not real, I think it's kind of like a little bit of a bypass and not realising the inherent beauty that we find ourselves in now, like all the sadness, all the pain, all the joy. That's the beauty of life, and not to forget that. And if we start kind of writing off as an illusion as such, which it's a relative reality, isn't it? Yes, we are going to die one day, and through my experiences, I've seen that we go on, but they're my experiences. I can't prove that to anyone, and nor should I. But that doesn't help me, does it? Because here I am. So when I'm crying, when I've lost the death of a loved one, or I'm supporting someone, to say it's just an illusion, it's a simulation, don't worry, I think that's the biggest, you're losing your humanity, and I don't agree with that personally. But at the same time, I can see through it as the illusion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that I'm understanding the simulation maybe a little differently, that we're here as we are, like our soul, our consciousness. Yeah. And my understanding is that we're throwing this into our avatar here, as we're on many timelines, avatars apparently going at the same time here, which is a whole other understanding. But just that we're here we're here, we're doing the simulate is a part of our like to expand something, like we got stuck somewhere, like something like the contrast, the war or whatever, right? Like we're trying to move past that. And so we're in this relation to rise above that, to get, it's like an expansion, like a bit of we got stuck somewhere out there. And then we created the simulation to try to get past to grow, and we created this contrast because the contrast makes us expand, even though it doesn't feel like that's what we're doing. So yeah, like I guess I'm not really viewing the simulation as like not a real thing. Like it's a part of something that we're creating our higher selves with all of the divine and everything else that's out there, but to expand our consciousness and our world. So I think that it can be viewed in very different things as just a non-thing, but I do think that the world is doing like a rebirthing or something, and we're definitely here to do something very important because it's like a very special time in the universe, in the world, right? As to what's happening. Not really sure what's happening, but something big's happening, right? Lots of big shifts in worlds. Volcanoes are blowing up, and there's a lot going on. Atlas is flying in, right? There's lots of different, just really big things, I believe, that are happening in the universe that we're all a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's my little talk. Oh, well, let's get back to you. I just thought.
I could talk about that all day.
Yeah, I just wondered what your thoughts were on that, because I just really am kind of in that space right now where.
I always like the analogy that, like, if you were an infinite being,
which we are,
what would you do? What would you do with anything at your disposal you can conceive and imagine? And could I go into the absolute depths of darkness with amnesia as such when we arrive on this planet, can't remember who we are, and could I still potentially remember who I am in and amongst all that darkness? And I think sometimes that may be why we're here. I don't know. That's just a concept. And again, concepts, thoughts, they're all transient, they're all illusory. But that one's always stuck with me. And I think to go into the absolute darkness and still rediscover myself from another perspective and see that love is the answer. And you have this ego that's filled with fear. And that's kind of the headset that makes you do fearful choices because you think you're separate from everything. But can you override that ego and soften it and bring that ego into balance with your heart and still spread love even when you thought you couldn't? And I think that's why this physical reality was created. But that's just a cute concept. But yeah.
That actually is that's how I see it too, actually. I really do. I think that and then the polarity right now is so extreme, right? It's so extreme. And I think it's just to wake us up, right? Because I think, like you said, like veils are lifting, right? We're able to see so much more truth or understanding, I don't know, different than before.
And I believe that's why we have so many goes at this. That, all right, you didn't get it that time. Go back and try and view it from another perspective, and maybe you'll see there and the consequences of your actions. And then, it's you can't really lose. I don't think. I think it's rigged to win eventually.
Eventually, yeah. Once we kind of bust through our ego, right, and move past that. Yeah. But ego's just all fear, right?
I've really tamed mine. I've written a book called The Awakening of Death, and in that book I talk about taming the ego, and I do believe you can bring it back into balance, because an ego is just the filter of how we filter out and live through this reality and give ourselves an identity. And without an ego, I wouldn't be here right now having this conversation with you, because I wouldn't be Dave. And so you can have a healthy ego, and I think it's just about bringing it all back into balance. But through our evolution of the Homo sapien, there's that much fear in our DNA from 200,000 years ago or whatever, if you believe that timeline, that we've had our kind of ego hardwired for fear, to analyse threats and think I'm separate. But I think now we can kind of bring it back into balance and create heaven on earth as such, if you like.
And so I believe that's kind of what you're sharing. Really, like the whole thing feels like if we can not tell the story, get out of the story, right? And then come back in, we can find that. That's the only way to find that, is to, do the meditation, and do you have like kind of a practice that you follow to keep you in, to going within? And I think we're all told to kind of go outside, right? The doctor, the drugs, like we're all looking for something to help us, but it's all in here, right? All in the heart. So
That's what all the great teachers that have ever walked this planet have left, haven't they? Their teachings to go within. Kingdom of Heaven was within. The Buddha just went within and meditated, and all these other teachers that, the answers are within. And that's kind of the trick of the game. We're always looking out there because the ego's hyper focused on the external world. But if you were to just go internally, and I meditate daily. I had some very far out experiences with meditation that I can't explain to you, but I've just seen some scary because I've kind of witnessed the power within me. And I know that sounds so cheesy and cliched, but it was scary. And then I was actually comfortable coming back into this little self and playing a small character because of what I witnessed within me. It was, if I'd have gone into it, I would have just been torn to pieces. And I got this through when I was training to be a breathwork instructor, and we're doing all these pranayama techniques and then meditating after, and you go into such deep states, peeling back the layers of consciousness. And I literally experienced that I was the Big Bang. That's the only way to describe it. The Big Bang was inside of me. It's not just inside of me, it's inside of you, everyone watching this, the trees, and had I gone into that vortex of just pure energy, it's so hard to describe. The words don't do it justice. I would have been torn to shreds. And I was happy coming back to my little ego self, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
that's interesting. That's good. That whole fear of the unknown too, right? What is all of that, right? And then that's a whole other concept. Like we're all one. And of course we can't see that because we're all separate. Everybody's so different, right? But it's like that, the ocean, right? We're all like a drop of the ocean. The drop doesn't work.
That's it. That's
right?
A classic analogy, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, yeah. Like, because it's so hard to say that to somebody and they kind of look at you like what are you talking about type thing. But it really is like we're all a part of, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah.
We're experiencing the nasty on the other side, where that's a mirror of something within all of us, right? The love.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's hard to grasp, right? Because you're looking at somebody doing evil things and you're thinking, that can't be a part of me, but it has to be if we're all part of the one.
That's a tough one to accept. But I will say, when you accept that within you have the capacity to be absolutely everyone, you can be like a Hitler or a Mother Teresa. I accept that I have the capacity. When I was younger, I used to have some very dark tendencies and some very dark thoughts. I was into like any violent films, real sadistic streak within me. So that's within me when I was younger, because I was in so much pain. I was exploring that side. I couldn't do anything like that. It's just so foreign to who I've become. However, that's still a part of me. So listen, when I see things on the external world and war, suffering, I don't cheer and welcome it. I don't want to see that in the world. Of course I don't. But at the same time, I accept that I'm capable of doing those things when I've been in fear, and that the hatred I felt for some people, like the hatred I felt for my mother leaving. So I think this is how you develop compassion for people that do these acts, because they're so lost in pain that hurt people hurt others, don't they? And this is how you cultivate love and healing. And I don't judge these people. But at the same time, I'm not condoning what they're doing. I don't want to see that in this world. But I accept it and I offer them compassion.
Yeah, that's a journey though, right? To be able to grasp that and to get that perspective. I don't have the 4 agreements, what I think, but the one that I write out is what others are saying and thinking and doing, or whatever. It's their perception of their own dream, right? But they're broadcasting it onto you, and then you're feeling that, and we're all doing that, and it's so toxic, right? The judgment of another is what they're judging within themselves, but they're projecting it onto another, and we're all doing that, right?
You got it, yeah.
Unconsciously, right? Thinking somebody's doing something to us, but it's our childhood story. That's so that's what I've really realized through my journey, that same, it looks different, the story is different, people are different, but the wound is the same. And that's right, that childhood that is attracting that scenario until I release it from my body, is what my belief is that what you found, like kind of until I realize that it's mine and where it is, and And that's what I've been doing, just breathing into kind of finding it. And because I'll get like the really bad pain in my belly or something's happening. I'm thinking, oh, I've got like my guts hurting, right? What is that? And not consciously knowing, but having to sit down and kind of just have a look at what that is, where it is, what's the feeling, right? But it's the same feeling. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, good for you. That's brave. And some people just don't want to do that, do they? That's not criticism, but I certainly didn't when I was 10 years ago. I wouldn't have done that and just sat with what was. And
yeah, I think that I've been through so many times, and it's like, okay, there's nothing, right? I think you get to a point where you have to to do something because it's I don't know. I think that the veil that is lifting and getting thinner makes it a lot easier to be able to be accountable and to see that the victim part it's got to be the accountability. Like, how did I get myself there, right? And then this is something that I've experienced already. So is that them? Yeah, they're doing their part or whatever. I see that, but I'm in that space again. So that's mine. But hard to understand how to get there.
yeah, it is. But you're clearly on the right path.
Yeah, that's tough though. That's the work that you're doing with people. You're coaching people with that because I think I've been working on this stuff for a lifetime. And like I'll find myself and it's another relationship and it's like the situation and it's more intense. It's common denominator. So that is all happening, but how do I get myself out of it? And that's the tools I don't believe that we have. We don't have the knowledge of how to get there, really, unless you're really searching and doing the work, right? But you're coaching people to help move through that stuff.
I have a lot of clients I've found, I'm attracting recently a lot of male clients with addiction problems and also a lot of people pleasers because I grew up being a huge people pleaser because that's actually a trauma response you learn as a child. So you've got the fight, flight, freeze, but there's the fawn. And this is kind of the most evolved part of us. It's what the neocortex has, the last part of the evolutionary brain, if you like. And it's quite sneaky because it will appease the threat and make the threat happy. So I won't be rejected, and it can walk into a room and kind of, this is where empaths come from. They can feel the emotions and then they'll go around firefighting, keeping everyone happy. But of course, who suffers at the end of all of that is to our detriment, isn't it? And this is how you hit burnout. So a lot of my clients, I coach them to see that it's not their responsibility to fix people. It's not their responsibility to feel that they are responsible for the emotional reaction of others. And this is something else we learn as children, because you see the way parents are happy. Oh, don't cry, darling. You're making daddy upset. Oh, don't do that. You're making daddy angry. Don't do this. And you see, because the child doesn't have a fully develop prefrontal cortex yet, it can't rationalize what's going on, so it accepts everything blindly from the caregivers or society, and then accepts that, oh, I'm responsible for dad's happiness, I'm responsible for mom's happiness, and then you grow up like that. And it's such a tall order, and this is how I grew up as a young child, feeling torn between my mum and dad with the court cases for like custody, and I've got to keep them both happy. It was never my responsibility, and there's so much stress that children place on themselves, which then turn into adults and become professional people pleasers, as I was, and then saying yes when you mean no, and then you get resentful and angry because you can't be your authentic self. So yeah, this is how I coach a lot of people to see through that wound and that illusion.
Yeah, definitely. I was a total people pleaser as well. I remember one of my hairstylists for 30 years, and one of my clients said to me, "Do you think you're a people pleaser?" And I was like, "Nah." And then she came back and I was like, "Oh my God, I am such a people pleaser." But just the awareness of it, like I just didn't realize I was, right? But you're just thinking that you just gotta smile and be nice because that's what you're told and that's what you're taught, and that's and like I wonder how many people are actually doing that. Probably a lot, right?
Loads, yeah. Pretty much all my clients, we're all people pleasers. I think to some degree, it's kind of a trait that people have picked up, or certainly the people that I attract into my office. But yeah, this is what we've learned to cope and survive. And I'm going to say that it's not sincere and it's really sneaky. And the most loving thing you can do to people is to tell the truth. Because when you tell the truth to someone, it gives them an honest reflection from their actions, and to become self-aware, for them then to have personal growth. So you're holding up a sincere mirror, and love does not lie, does it? Love serves and tells the truth, and we don't feel comfortable telling the truth, because if someone rejects us, that's gonna poke an emotional wound with an emotion we're not comfortable feeling, and beneath that wound is the belief that I'm not good enough. So I don't want to be rejected, because if that happens, that will reinforce my subconscious narrative that I'm not good enough. So this is why we people please. So actually, it's to protect us really deep down, to stop us from feeling a certain way. So it's really crafty, but it's effective. But you'll hit burnout, and it's not sustainable. It's not.
I think that that whole truth telling is definitely the way to go.
Honestly, my biggest spiritual teacher, who I actually love, I go back to, like, past all the new age stuff, everything, is always Ram Dass. I don't know if you've ever heard of Ram Dass. Yep. And he went to the Himalayas, met his guru there, and was expecting these dark, mystical, wonderful secrets. And all he got from his guru was love everyone, tell the truth, serve everyone, and remember God. And that tell the truth, I've really been working with that in my personal relationships over the past year, my clients, and it's so liberating and it's so truthful. It's the most loving thing, that telling the truth, and even how you feel to my wife. Well, do you know what? This is how I feel. Can we work by this? And what do you feel? And it's, just communication, honesty forges more connection.
It's just the way to go. I know, I think our, just raising kids, right? And then the first, no, I didn't do it. It wasn't me, right? And then it's like, I always tell my kids, you know what? Okay, so I know it was you. And so here's the thing. This is what happens, right? And then you tell another one to keep that. And then you're all right. And then eventually you get told out. So just stand up and just bust through it right now and go, it was me, right? Because it's not worth it, right? That whole holding, right? Your energy gets all blocked, right? You say something and it kind of, if you're not saying the truth, your whole energy field shuts down, don't you think?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people that are very good at telling me, but
I got constant sore throats growing up. I was permanently run down because you're not being sincere. That self-expression, that fifth chakra, is just being strangled, literally.
Yeah, you know what? I remember my sister was saying that. She was like, I'm not being heard. And then she got throat cancer, right? And it's just like, we really manifested our body. What's happening emotionally is kind of what the real true lesson for me was with that, is just how powerful our words are, and what we're feeling, we're holding. And so it's so important to go within or whatever, to move through and clear this stuff, right? Because it's just, I don't know, the older I get, the deeper the pile gets, right? So don't really have a choice but to get in there and get to work. But the work is just sitting with it, right? Just sitting with the emotion is the big thing that I've learned, is we're just sitting with there and not judging it and just feeling it, so that the energy can pass through the body, is my experience.
Yeah, feel it to heal it.
Yeah, because none of it's true, right? It's all just our perception and perspective because of this wounded child. That's kind of my understanding of where I'm at with all of that. But it sounds like that's the work that you're doing as well, right? The wounds that it's all from not enough, not being loved enough, not whatever. As a child, it's so crazy.
It all boils down to love, doesn't it? And if that absence of love wasn't there, and then the fearful narratives creep in that the ego tells itself, that it just all boils down to love. And this is why I'm a huge advocate of inner child healing, and going back and reparenting your inner child from your adult perspective, and giving it what it never had. Being seen, being heard, being loved, validating it, because children are not validated. So we just have to do that with the wounds, that emotion that's within. What do you need, little one? How can I help you? This is what I say whenever I'm feeling an emotion that's uncomfortable. What do you believe about yourself? And just, treating that emotion as you would a small child.
Instead of, how would you address a little child, right? Treat yourself like that. And that's the love that we're not giving ourselves right there. right?
Yeah, and I'm not perfect at it. I'm still a work in progress. I'm learning, but I'm getting better, a hell of a lot better. But there's still moments, and I have a young daughter, and she triggers the absolute hell out of me because a lot of stuff she does gets my wounded inner child as well. And she has been one of the biggest blessings in my life when she was born. And she's shown me all my shadows and repressed stuff that I don't want to own. And yeah, it's been beautiful. It's been ugly, but it's been beautiful.
I know. I still sometimes I'll find myself all of a sudden like, yelling or whatever, and I'm like, okay, like I'm in some pattern, right? Unconscious pattern. That was my mother. Right? It's just really like it's that deep, right? That's
Yeah, you go into these unconscious patterns, and then you've got that spiritual ego as well, saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. That's not spiritual." And then the guilt kicks in, and it's just But yeah, the more I meditate, I just see the way my mind operates, and I smile at it all. But sometimes you still get sucked in, really, don't you? With that, and children are brilliant at doing that.
yeah, I totally get sucked in all the time, but I'm seeing it, right? And that's the first step, right? Is just awakening to the fact of this is a pattern. This is the story that I've told. And that keeps that wound there. That keeps that victim-y thing all stuck there. And then I am apparently attracting more of that because I'm not clearing it because that energy is there, right? So
I believe so, yeah. I attracted partners into my life. I went from relationship to relationship, like serial monogamy, if you like, trying to find that feminine aspect because I had that huge mother wound. And yeah, partners would leave me, and the pain that would like create within. But it wasn't actually happening to the adult me. It was happening to that 3-year-old little boy when his mother left him. But I just couldn't, I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know the stuff we've just spoken about. So then I just drank through it even more because that's what all I knew how to do. And that's okay. But I see it differently now.
Thank goodness, hey? Like you look like you're totally at peace. Do you look like if you were there? Yeah, I don't see any of that. You've definitely done a ton of work. And so that's the gift, right? Is just to know that if you do want to do that, then you can move from being totally horribly unhealthy and unhappy to a state of peace.
Anyone can.
That's huge. That's huge. So the whole trauma and the manifestation, that everything that you see that all came from your childhood, the little David.
I believe so. Not just with the mother wound as well. I had a lot of father wounds, as we all do. And I always say to people that trauma doesn't mean like huge sexual, physical, mental abuse. It can be. I had a client yesterday and asked if I could share this story, and then that's fine. They were at school and they knocked over the sandpit one day, and the teacher absolutely went mad at them. And from that moment of them knocking over the sandpit, they felt such shame, guilt, and the fear of making a mistake. When really what was happening, a child was just exploring it, and children learn about this 3D world through putting things in their mouth, touching surfaces, how they learn. So from a simple act of innocence and naivety, that sandpit moment then created a lifetime of trauma, fear of making a mistake. So trauma doesn't have to be a huge thing. It can be little innocuous things, but then the child accepts again blindly what the adult is telling them. And that's not always from parents. That can be education on a screen as well. Screens are so powerful. So yeah, trauma comes in many different varieties, but it's only unresolved distress. That's what I heard it called once. I think Teal Swan says that it's unresolved distress, and I like that. And we just go back and resolve that distress, and then you know what? It might not be instantaneous. It might take a few times, but when it will click eventually, and the emotions will get quieter and quieter. And then when you have the thought without the emotion, to me, that's a sign of healing. Then that's like a sign of wisdom, and this is how we move forward.
Yes, yeah, being able to talk about something without spiraling into the emotion of it, right?
Yeah.
That has been my journey. It's a big thing though, right? Because we're that whole being triggered and then being able to separate and see that. That's why I know I'm healed a lot from, because I wouldn't be able to get out of the story. It was just coming at me, and it was just such a yeah. It's just a tough place when you're you're going through something tough, and then there's more things coming at you, and then to be able to find a space to find that place within you to be able to move out of it is, I think, the biggest challenge, right? For me, for sure. But that's what you're doing. You're coaching people and helping them through that stuff, because I'll tell you what, had the podcast that I started was a dark night of the soul. It wasn't something that I seeked out to do. It just happened.
Yeah.
And probably definitely kept me alive to date, right? Just learning and talking with people like yourself and having the understanding and just keep walking through it, right? Just keep walking, right? Because it's tough, right? There's some parts in your life where it's like, this is so much that I think that's the best part though, right? When you get to that part, you're on your knees. Definitely put me on my knees. So yeah, it's good. That contrast, right? Helps us expand and learn to love ourselves or take ourselves out, one of the two, right? But it's definitely worth walking through.
And I've been crying on my knees a lot of times. Even over the last 2 years, I had a lot of repressed emotion arise to the point where I thought I was having like a breakdown as such. But now, because we have such an unhealthy relationship with emotions in our society, I'm just showing emotion. And I meditated on it one day and I said, why is this happening to me? And I literally got the words back: because you never felt. And all the drink and the drugs and all the pain I'd kept down, it finally had to be felt to become lighter and to stop carrying all that baggage around. So this is why I work a lot with emotions with clients, because you can do all the psychotherapy in the world, which sure is effective to some degree, but unless you get the emotion out, the real things that are getting you on a day-to-day basis, I'm going to say it's not always going to work as such. So just to let that emotion be seen. If you want to get angry, scream. If you need to cry, this is why breathwork's so powerful, because it takes you into these altered states. It activates the sympathetic nervous system. And I've had all sorts pop up in breathwork, traumas I didn't know existed come up. I did a session last week. I had to deal with a lot of grief and betrayal. All this stuff, it's powerful. It's powerful. And then you get that out, and then you know what? You just leave it there and it's gone. You don't necessarily have to revisit what happened. Where did it come from? It's just the emotion, and it's to be honoured. I think it's to be felt, isn't it? To feel these emotions. Yeah.
I think, because I think that we do the therapy and then we're just rehashing stories, right?
But you're just creating it.
It just keeps us there, right? And and then that's not helping us. It's just, right? And so I believe that what you're saying, the work is just to go within and just to be able to feel it so it can, where is that? Where is that? And we do believe it's the story. But really what I have learned is it's that story and that story, right? It's that emotion keeps getting activated, and I'm attracting stuff to create the activation, I guess, and it gets a little louder each time.
Because you can't feel an emotion without having the belief or story beneath that. I can't feel anything about anything until I have a belief or definition about it. And then, we get the emotion out, and then you just change the subconscious narrative. So I'm not I'm worthy. And then, but you've got that old emotional template out. And this is when you hit the nail on the head when someone says something to you, you'll probably want to cry, because that's your body releasing the old chemical belief that you thought you were not good enough. And those tears are an indication that it's sad that you used to believe that about yourself. That's what the sadness is showing you, I've come to find. So
yeah, 100%. That what's that, Marissa Pierce or whatever, she's got that whole I am enough. And really, I think that is a really root for all of us, right? Is that whole just didn't feel enough, didn't see that our parents or whatever were looking at us, that we were enough, right?
And it's just reinforced by society, isn't it? Then you've got to be a specific title, have all these social accolades, get the house, get the car, get a wife, get a child, and then you'll be considered an adult. But you know what? I don't say this from a glib perspective or from an ego, that I don't have to do anything. Just because I exist, that's enough. However, I'm still going to play the game, and I'm going to do what I enjoy and be a success in my eyes of what I think is a success. And if that's helping someone in the road one day, crossing the road, or just in the streets, then that makes me happy. I don't have to prove myself anymore. And I was so obsessed with the opinion of others and how I'd be perceived that I tried so hard, and it doesn't matter, because nobody cares. Everyone's stuck in their own heads, aren't they? No one really cares. So
that. Yeah, you're thinking, I just tell my girls that you think they're thinking about you, but they're actually thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you, right?
It's what the ego does. It thinks it's the centre of the world, and people are going to be thinking. They're not. It's just you rehashing this air of self-importance that we all have.
Yeah, and you're thinking that person's thinking that. No, they're thinking that they're doing their own thing, doing that, right? And so we're all walking around doing that. There's that one. I love that. I heard it from Jay Shetty, and he was like, "I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am, but I'm what you think I am." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so true." All of us, right? We're thinking that they think this of us, and then we're in our head, and then we're creating some emotion around that. But it's all of that we're not enough, or they don't think of enough, or really is the actual basis of the story that we start chitter-chattering about, right? So crazy, so crazy. It's so great to being able to see that is the beginning, right? And then it's just the process of when the emotions are coming up to go, oh, okay, here it is again, right? But it's a journey for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I'm grateful for it, though. I'll tell you that. You look like you're very grateful for it. You definitely have like a whole air of peace. Yeah. So good for you for doing that work. That whole your best friend there, right? He definitely changed your whole.
Oh yeah, what a guy! I still have my moments. Don't get me wrong, but you know what? I'm so content with life now, and just see the beauty in just the tiniest of things. Well, every moment actually. I always say to people, like, this is the happiest I'm going to be sat here with you now, because what else do I need? This is my life right now. So yeah, I'm at peace with that. So yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. How old is your little girl?
She's 4. She was 4 2 weeks ago, and she thinks she knows it all. And yep, she's yeah.
You know what? Those little ones come in all knowing, right? And then I think we're busy trying to fit them into the society and shut down their natural abilities and their natural knowing. So she probably does know it all.
Yeah, she's very empathic. She'll pick up in emotions, and it will affect her. And I'm just kind of, when she's old enough to understand, I will teach her how to channel and harness all that. At the moment, I can't really, because that neocortex isn't fully developed. But when she's maybe 8, 9, I'll then start to teach her about emotional boundaries and all of this. So I do subtly now, but there's only so much I can tell her. She just yawns at me now when I start this, probably because she does all this anyway, and she's probably laughing at me deep down on a soul level, isn't she, Sia?
I think so. They're just so amazing, the little beings, and I think the souls are coming in a little more evolved as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like 5 girls, and you know, the oldest passed away, and so I have her baby, and this little one she's just turned 8, but she's all knowing. She was like a little Buddha baby, right? I got her when she was 3 months, and like they're very tapped in. I think we just tarnish them with our do this, memorize that, like I guess even the memorization takes us out of our intuition, right? It's part of a shutting down. It's interesting, right? But these little beings are going to be running the world, and how great for her to have like just your energy to grow up around that. I just think about that, right? My dad was, you know, he wasn't good, right? Should have had one child, right? So I just imagine to have a dad in the house who has peace and love and has just that whole knowing what a gift that she has. It's huge.
That's kind of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm doing my best. I still feel that anger sometimes, and I just work with it. But yeah,
I think you have to, though, right? Because we're living in a polarized universe. So I don't know that we ever don't, unless you're Buddha or whatever you're sitting. I mean, unless you're totally enlightened. But
yeah, that's a good point. And anger is something I've suppressed all my life, because my father was quite volatile towards me, and that scared me. And I vowed not to be like that. But I've been learning about kind of dharmic anger. I have a responsibility as a father. It's my attachment to the anger that creates the suffering. But yesterday, she just does not listen. She will not listen, and I had to raise my voice and be very stern with her. But it's the only thing that will make her listen. But you know what? That's my responsibility as a father, because if I let her get away with murder, that's not fair, is it? Because I'm not teaching her how to live in this society and world. So, yeah, there is a time and a place for these outbursts in a controlled way as well.
I feel better because I was yelling the other day. Oh, guys, they don't listen. But then I feel like I'm stepping into being my mother, right? Where she literally, I'm like, okay, stop that pattern. There's got to be a different way for this. But yeah, there's such a fine line with that, right? Because they need to have these boundaries, and boundaries then is, and then if they're not listening. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. So what do you have people come to you online? You're doing a Zoom. Do you have a podcast at all, David? I didn't check with that. I didn't see.
No, I don't have a podcast. It's something I've considered, but I'm just so busy at the moment with clients that it's not. And the majority of my people, my clients are. So I don't like saying my clients. I'm trying to get that habit that the people I work with are in person, which is what I love. I'm in my office here. This is why I got this premises to work from. I love it, and I do online, but I do prefer that in-person connection. That's just me. But the beauty of online, allowing us to have this conversation right now, it's all got its pros and cons, hasn't it?
It really does. That whole COVID put a whole different spin on how people are. Like the whole Zoom came in then, and right, yeah. I know for myself, I had some podcasts that I got to do that were in person, and it's totally great like that. But now, now I'm used to doing the Zoom. But I do feel that I do get the connection, but it's definitely better in person, right? Because you're having that energy, and So if somebody wants to contact you, they just go to your website and they can. So if somebody's watching us and they're not in your neighborhood, you've got packages where you can.
Yeah, my website is theawakeningofdeath.com. My handles on social media are The Awakening of Death as well. My book is called The Awakening of Death, so that's where it all starts. That's on Amazon, on Kindle and paperback, and that's why I built my business around The Awakening of Death, because it was my book that really started my journey, and then I built from that and the things I wrote about in that, and now I'm living my life, just to show that we have the power to create whatever we want. So from where I've come from being homeless, sleeping on a floor, to now having my own business, house. But I always say that doesn't define me, and that doesn't make me a success. Just I was enough when I was homeless, and I'm enough as I am now. However, I do prefer this life, I'm not going to lie. But my happiness is not hinged on this reality. That my happiness just comes from knowing who and what I am. And that's what I'll say to anyone who's there.
That's so true, isn't it? There's all those people with all this money, and there's people with no money, and it all, they can...
It's all empty, ultimately. It's all empty. And if you keep looking in the material world, you won't find it. But that doesn't mean I don't experience moments of pleasure and enjoy what this life has to offer.
We're supposed to be... I think, God brought us in to live an abundant life. He didn't bring us here.
I believe that.
And, have nothing, and like that's, we're here to grow and expand. And we have these thoughts that were from our childhood, from what we perceived from our parents, right? About the money and the whatever doesn't grow on trees, that whole, right?
I've done a lot of work around money. I've done so much work, and I've come a long way. There's still a few sticky patches, but from my situation now, my life is abundant. I can say that. I can do what I want when I want to, and to me, that's abundance.
100%. And then you can tap into within yourself to create, right? Like to attract, because wherever we're at is where we're pulling in. And so if you're focusing on that, you're creating and you are building abundance, then you are, right? I think that's the beauty of being tapped into yourself, is to be able to be the creator. And through meditation now, I'm so aware of what I'm thinking from moment to moment that I can see when things happen. I was thinking that thought not too long ago, or I can see what that happened, and it's like, okay. And I'm literally having things now. I'll think a thought and it's there in front of me. Just words mirrored back to you, or you're thinking a word and it's said on the telly, or you're thinking, and this is happening more and more. But I believe the more you density release old
traumas, if you like, then things happen a lot faster, because this is our natural state of how you're able to bring things into reality.
I really am experiencing that as well. It's like a boomerang.
Yeah.
It's like whatever you throw it out there is coming right back. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does make you aware of what am I thinking? Right? You bang your head. Okay, what was that?
And years ago, all I used to think was negativity, or I'm not good enough, or I've got to prove myself. This was like the daily narrative in my subconscious mind. And that neuroplasticity, that you can rewire the brain now to literally think differently. It takes a patience and dedication, but you can rewire your brain literally.
Oh, I can attest to that. I had like 3 nasty bad concussions and like all these deaths and all this trauma or whatever that happened all at once. And my brain was not functioning. It wasn't seeing properly. I wasn't able to read. I was able to, I didn't know that I'd be able to bring myself back to the other side. Cook dinner. I couldn't organize anything. My brain wasn't functioning properly at all. It was wild. And it's a true thing. I did lots of Dr. Joe Dispenza work, and he teaches, and I think that knowledge of what we're doing and how we're doing and how it works is so important, because if you have the belief that you can, then you can, right? So yeah, I've definitely been able to do a lot of healing of my brain and how it works and being able to function properly again.
That's amazing. Wow.
It is, because I was not functioning for a while. It was crazy. It was a crazy experience to be inside of that. Do you know what I mean? Where you used to functioning very high, multitasking, working and doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden your brain's just feel sorry for all those athletes. I watch that after you have a really bad concussion or 2 or 3, and then you watch what happens with those athletes. I'm like, oh, like you're talking about soccer that you watch and stuff, right? That's crazy. But the neuroplasticity, right?
Yep.
We can heal ourselves. I know I watch people getting out of wheelchairs and Dr. Joe stuff, and it's really wild. Our stories keep us, they just keep us stuck. It's so funny until you can really see what your stories are. That's the big thing, right? Is to actually be able to see it. When I see it, I was pretty depressed actually of what I was seeing.
You don't realise, do you? You just don't realise it to this point in that. You're like, oh my goodness, that makes sense.
That's the conversation in my head. I was kind of like, wow, I had no idea. Yeah. What do they say? 95% of it is the unconsciousness or whatever. We're not paying attention.
That's it, on a daily basis. Yeah. We're not thinking.
We're thinking how many, like 50 to 80,000 thoughts a day that were usually the same ones that we had yesterday. And then when you check into those thoughts, it's like, that might be where I'm stuck. Crazy world. Well, listen, it was great to hang out and chat with you today, David. I really appreciate working through this and gifting our world. It's huge, especially, the men, right? Like the men, I think it's harder on them, right? Because they, I don't know if it is or not, because I'm not a man, but I just see, right, they need to go inside or to be emotional or attached into, your emotions and your tears or whatever is not a manly thing. And so for you to lead and show what a better life.
I appreciate your words, Jacqueline. Yeah, thank you. I would say that's a whole other podcast, because it's something I'm quite passionate about healing that wounded inner masculine that we all carry in society, and the erroneous myths and beliefs we're being fed, and just to kind of bring that back into balance. So I think, that's a whole different topic. But I appreciate your words. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And in the past month, I've had a lot of male clients, as I mentioned earlier, come to me. So I think this is something I'm clearly meant to be doing now.
So good for you for leading. I'm grateful for that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, give your best to your little one and your wife, and let's catch up down the road.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
You too. Thanks, David. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me about how we can become the best version of ourselves. See you next time.